Alright everybody, we're going to talk about some proportions based off of these word problems that we're going to look at here off this worksheet. And so looking at number 1, it says a jelly junior high school color is made by mixing red paint with yellow paint. The ratio of red to yellow is 3 to 5, that's important, so 3 to 5. How much red paint should be mixed with 20 ounces of yellow? So red to yellow is the first ratio, so that's the first piece of our proportion. So we're going to write down 3 over 5. I hope y'all can see that. So 3 fits there. So we had red on top and yellow on bottom, so we got to do the same thing on the other side. Red on top and yellow on bottom. So since this 20 connects with the yellow, that will be on the bottom. I'm just going to put an in for some number that we're trying to find here. You can put whatever variable you want. You can put a question mark, whatever the case may be. Now, there's different ways to solve these proportions. The way that works all the time would be to cross multiply. So if you cross multiplied here, you would go back and have 5n. 5 times n is 5n. Here, 3 times 20 would give me 60. And then to finish this off, use equation steps. So divide by 5 on both sides. And once you did that, you would do 60 divided by 5 to get your final answer, which is 12 ounces. That way works all the time. Now, that's the last time I'm going to show you this method on this worksheet, because actually on this worksheet, the shortcut method I like can be used on all these problems. So if you like this method, feel free to continue using it on this worksheet as we go over these problems, but I'm going to go back in and try to use some of these shortcut methods to get around doing some of this work over here. So the method I like to use is, once I get my proportion set up, ask myself, the two numbers that are across from each other horizontally, I say, how do I get from one to the other? So to get from 5 to 20, I could say times 4, and do the same thing for our numerator. So here, if I do 3 times 4, boom, straight to 12. So that to me is the easiest method that you could use on this particular problem here. But either way is fine. Like I said, the first way that I did it would work for every single question. The way I just showed you a shortcut does not necessarily always work for every single proportion. So there's our first question. Next, let's come down here and look at number 2. It says the lawnmower factory can produce 12 lawnmowers in 8 hours. So how many hours will it take the factory to produce 30 lawnmowers? So first things first, we got 12 and 8 here. That's going to form that first ratio. So 12 lawnmowers in 8 hours. So I'm going to write down 12 over 8. Now I've got lawnmowers over hours. So on the other side, I got to make sure that 30 goes where lawnmowers are supposed to be. So I have lawnmowers over hours. I do lawnmowers over hours here. So the 30 is on top, and my variable on bottom. Now look, right here, I can't use that shortcut. You can always cross multiply here, but you can be using bigger numbers. So right here, I can't get from 12 to 30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fraction and I'm going to reduce it down. So I'm going to come back in here and think of a number I can divide into both 12 and 8. So I'm going to divide both of them by 4. So this 12, when I divide it by 4, is going to become a 3. At 8, when I divide it by 4, it's going to become a 2. So I'm going to rewrite this proportion now over here so you can see what we're working with. So now we have 3 over 2 equals 30 over n. So this method will work if you get stuck where you can't use the shortcut. Come back in, try to reduce that fraction down, and now we can use the shortcut. We can get from 3 to 30 by doing times 10. So then do the same thing for your denominator, and you get your answer of 20. So that's a situation. There are a couple problems up here where that situation is going to pop back up, where you set up your proportion and you can't get from one number to the other number that's across from it. So remember, you can always use that shortcut where you reduce your fraction down and see if you can get numbers that you could use this method with. I'm going to come back over here and check out number 6 next. I'm going to do just a couple of these and let you try some on your own in a little bit. So with number 6, it says, Jose can read 7 pages of his book in 5 minutes. So at this rate, how long will it take him to read the entire 175-page book? So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to put it over here, try to squeeze it in. So I'm going to have 7 over 5. So I did pages over minutes, so I got to have pages over minutes here. So since that 175 goes with pages, put that on top, and then we'll put our variable on bottom. So now I can actually use a shortcut here. You can go 7 times 25 to get to that 175, so do the same thing for your denominator. So 5 times that 25 gives me my final answer here of 125. Just remember, you could always cross multiply, so you could do 7n and then 5 times 175, and divide that by 7 to get that same answer. So that method would work as well. I just think mine's a little bit shorter and makes us deal with smaller numbers rather than bigger numbers. Let's check out number 7 now. While exercising, Julie found that her heart was beating 12 times every 5 seconds. How many times was it going to beat per minute? That's 60 seconds for that minute there. So let's come back in and set this up. So I'm going to have 12 over 5. So I've got 12 times for 5 seconds. So I need to have times over seconds here. So that 60 seconds will go on the bottom. And our variable will go on top. Now, I can use my shortcut here. I could do 5 times 12. That will give me the 60. So do the same thing for my numerator. And so here when I do 12 times 12, I get my final answer of 144. So I did a couple of these. We got 10 problems up here. I did 4 of them. So you got a little more than half left. So I'm going to move this paper to where you can check out 3, 4, 5, and 8, 9, 10. And now I want you, I'm actually going to move it up a little bit more so you can see there's some answers down here. So if you're working these out and you get something that's not in one of these boxes down here, go back and double check yourself, because these are the proposed answers for these problems here. Now, obviously down here we only have 10 questions, and we have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 possible answer choices, so some of these will not be used. But just go back in and try 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10. See how you do on those. You have a couple, like I said, that might be like number 2 over here, where you might want to reduce down if you want to use that shortcut. But a lot of them will be like the other ones we looked at, where you could just go back in, set up your proportion, and use the shortcut like we see over here with the times 4 times 4, or over here like the ones we just did with the times 25 times 25, or times 12 times 12. So take a couple minutes and pause this video. Let me get it back set up for you there, nice and neat in the middle. So pause this video, take some time, try these 6 problems, see how you do, and we'll come back and let you look at the answer key here in a second. Alright, so we've got our answer key here. So you see, for 3, 4, and 5, I've got my proportions set up for each one of those problems. 3 and 5, I had to go back in and reduce that original fraction down to use my proportions. So for example, over here, I did 10/4 and divided by 2 on top and bottom, and that's how I got 5 over 2 there. Now I can use that shortcut. I had to do that because I couldn't get from 10 to 95 if I used that in my proportion. Same thing for number 5 down here. I took that 64 and divided by 4 on top and bottom, and I got 15 over 1. So now I have a situation where I can use a shortcut, whereas if I would have kept it 60 over 4 over here, I couldn't use the shortcut. So that's why I reduced those over there. See, it popped up for number 8 again over here as well. So I went ahead and took that 1200 over 8 and divided by 8 on top and bottom. And that's where that 150 over 1 came from, just to make sure you understand where the numbers came from. The rest of these that you tried, so numbers 9 and 10 and 4, once you set up the proportion, they all have the shortcuts you could use. So I'm going to, looks like the screen's not going to fit at all, so I'm going to pull it to this side first and let you just check over your work for 3, 4, and 5 and see what the answers are. So go ahead and pause it at this time and look over those. And now I'm going to scoot it back over to this side for 8, 9, and 10. So you can pause it and look over at your work. So that's 8's work, there's 9's work, and there's 10's work. Look over your work for those problems and the answers that you got for those. Alright, so that's proportions in some real life situations here, in other words, word problems. So hopefully you were able to go back in and solve these and be on your way to success with this important topic, which is ratios and proportions. See ya!